So, now that we have everything saved, now we're going to actually start working on this. Now let's just go over some Visual Studio's basics first. We have ourselves the toolbox, which of course, you have all Windows forms. You can click all these things. You can go like, oh, I want a pointer or I want a button. I can just simply click and drag, put it on the system somewhere, and boom, now I have a button. Now every item, whether it be the button, will have properties over here on the right hand side. Same thing with our form, which is the general space that we're in. We can go in here and we can change the text, the name, the size, the background color, etc. Every item in this has a name. For example, the name right here of this form, this entire thing right here, is named Form 1. And at the same time, it also has the text of Form 1. Now I can change the text. I can name this, David Example 1. And as you see, now up here, my form says David Example 1 up in the corner. I want you all to rename and retext every form and every button, every single object on your forms. Why? Because what happens when you get a situation of button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5, button 6, button 7, so on and so forth, you're going to forget what each one does. So I want you to name these things something that is recognizable. So now you notice I've changed the text to David Example 1, but if I go back up here, it is still named Form 1. The name is what the computer looks for when it's coding. The text is what we see. Not only is what we see going to need to change, but what the thing is named entirely is also going to have to be changed. Now, in this specific example, changing the name of the form can be dangerous. It can give you some pretty mean errors. So, I would recommend when you change the name of a form, you do that as the very first thing you do after saving, so that this way you don't cause yourselves any errors, because it would suck having to do this at the very last thing and then you accidentally destroy your entire project. So I'm just going to name this D. Monticchio. Also, I want everyone to make sure they change the names of their forms and whatnot, just as a anti-plagiarism device. And I'll do that. So now, theoretically, if I hit start, let's see what happens. It'll give me an error. It's going to take a little bit of time to load. And it's ready. Here it is. So what I have now, this is what happened. When I hit this play button up here, I also have a pause button, and I have a stop button. Now right now this is showing us in real time what a user would be doing on this form. Now obviously there's nothing, there's just a button with no code on it, and I'll just hit the stop button up there. And it'll stop the live preview and we'll go back to designing. So yes, this start button is how you get to test stuff. You cannot change code or change anything in the properties while it is currently in play mode. You must make sure you stop the play. So, with that being said, let's actually go in and start actually messing around with buttons. So, here's the thing. Right now, you have two ways to do this. You can go into View Designer or View Code, or you can simply double-click. So, for example, I'm on my form, I will double-click my form. And now I have the design view, which is right here, and I have my code view, which is right here. Now you notice I clicked D. Monticchio and it's on load because I named my form D. Monticchio. Whatever it is you click on or double click, the code version will automatically put up a new private sub or a new void if you're in a C# coding, and it will put a new object up there of what it is you clicked. So for example, I click this button, and look, this button is currently named button 1. I will click the button, and now I have private sub button 1 click. So with coding, everything you have has a start point, which is right here, and an end point, which is right there. Anything in between those 2 points is what's happening when this object is clicked or text is changed or whatever it is that button, label, checkbox, whatever it is you've put on it has done. This other thing right here, you notice it says D Monticchio load. So here's the start point. So this will be what happens on the load. So when the thing first opens up, and here's what happens when the first opening up is over. Oh, and here's the thing, our public class, here's my entire project entirety. Here's the start point, here's the end point. There is going to be nothing outside of this or above it. Everything will happen inside the codes. Think of it like parentheses or a rushing nesting doll. We have our big thing right here, and then inside we have smaller things. And inside the smaller things we have even smaller things, which will be where our code goes. It all just nests inside itself like a rushing nesting doll.